Since we are all here, we'll get started with a roll call from the board. And if you can, we can just go in alphabetical order to make it easy by your last name.
Charles Burdell Williams, present.
David Cohen, present.
Bill England is absent and Joel Fishbein is present.
Julie Hayward is present.
Pam Henry, present.
Jennifer Lohman, present.
Chris Pender, present.
Dan Schultz, present.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we passed.
That went very smooth, didn't it?
Well done, folks.
4 years is a charm. All right, so we'll have the call to order of the Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Mr. Fishbein.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Fishbein. Next, we'll have the solicitor's report. Mr. Diazio.
Yes, thank you. I have the Sunshine Act announcements for this evening. The board, since the last meeting, has had a number of executive sessions, so I'll announce them. The first one was on Saturday, August 14th, 2021 at 9 a.m. And the purpose of that executive session related to the search for a superintendent of schools. Similarly, Monday, August 23rd, 2021 at 5:00 p.m., the board met an executive session to discuss the search for a superintendent of schools. On Tuesday, August 31st, 2021, the board met an executive session at 7:45 p.m. to discuss the superintendent search, as well as one matter of personnel. The board met an executive session on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Regarding matters of personnel. And again on Friday, September 17th, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. also regarding a matter of personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. Next, I have a motion to for the approval of the minutes from the August 10th, 2021 Legislative Board meeting.
Move to approve, Julie Hayward. Oh,
Second, Julie Hayward, motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second, Charles Burdell Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward and Mr. Burdell Williams. Next, we will have comments on agenda items on.
Ms. Henry, we have to move to approve those.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Motion to approve by just consent.
Aye.
Aye.
Favor say aye. Any nays? The motion carries. Thank you, Julie. Public comments on agenda items only. Just a reminder to the public that this is for agenda items. If you have a question, please update your Zoom screen name to include where you live in the township and use the raise hand functions within the Zoom interface. If you do not have access to Zoom, you can email email your question to CSD board meeting comments at cheltenham.org. So I'll look in the chat or in the participants to see if we have any. So there are no hands raised for public comments on agenda items only. So we will move on to the president's report. And that is Dr. Hacker.
You.
Dr. Hacker, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. So this is, you're referring now to the approval of the resolution?
Approval of the treasurer's report, yes.
Oh, the treasurer's report. And then B, we have the approval of the resolution. So we need a vote first on the approval of the treasurer's report.
Yes.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second, Jennifer Lohman.
And so can we have a vote by voice? All-
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. And Dr. Hecker, thank you for saving me, because now that I realize I was supposed to do that, I put names next to everything. I didn't put my name next to that one. So I'm just like, oh, this is Dr. Hecker.
Not a problem. I'm coming up shortly, but not quite yet.
And next we have the approval of the resolution regarding the Pennsylvania Department of Education. All those in favor, say aye.
I think.
Well,
Ms.
first we
Henry
need a motion.
needs a motion on that one.
Motion.
So moved.
Most. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Chris.
Dan Schultz.
Okay, now we can have the voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
No. And just remember, we have to ask for board comment after we have the first and second, in the event there is any board comment on a motion.
And so thank you for that, Julie.
You're welcome.
Do we have a comment on any of these items?
On the off chance that folks aren't able to read the screen, or could we just say what it is we're voting, just the action itself?
Thank
The
you, Dan.
motion.
On the approval of the treasurer's report, it was the revenue status report, August 2021, and the expenditure status report, August 2021. The executive file attachment are the revenue status report, the cover sheet, and the August treasurer's report. For the for B, the approval of the resolution, there is a file attached for that.
And actually, just to be more specific, just that this is a resolution authorizing the acting superintendent to sign any and all contracts, agreements, grants, and or licenses with PDE. That's what the resolution was, for anybody who is maybe watching on a TV and can't see.
Dan, thank you.
And I think we have a motion and a second, and I don't think there was any comment, so just, we need to have a voice vote.
So I have my hand up. I just have one quick comment.
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Henry. That resolution is to approve or authorize Dr. Hacker as the acting superintendent to sign any and all contracts, agreements, grants, or licenses with the Pennsylvania Department of Education through electronic signature versus having to sign those in hard copy.
Perfect.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other comments or corrections for me? All right, so the motion carries. All right, are we ready to move on?
Was there a vote there?
There was a vote and there, okay, I'll do it again.
Okay.
There was-
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay.
No,
I'm not sure there was a vote. There was a comment, right?
well, maybe it
We
stopped,
voted
maybe the
first.
comment stopped before the vote.
Okay.
But I did call for the vote. All right, so on B, the approval of resolution regarding the Pennsylvania Department of Education, the administration recommends the approval of the resolution authorizing the acting president to sign any and all contracts, agreements, grants, and or licenses with the Pennsylvania Department of Education through electronic signature. Can I have a motion to approve?
Well, the motion and the second are there, so now all in favor.
All, okay, see, now I'm really confused. All in
There you
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, so the motion carries.
There you go.
All right, so I'd actually done that, but I did it too fast. My
Mhm.
brain is not catching up. All right, Eastern Center for Arts and Technology report from Mr. Burdell Williams.
It looks like he may be frozen on the screen here. So perhaps you want to.
He didn't have a report, I think he said.
He's back.
I-
Charles, can you hear? You're on mute.
Yep, I can now. I did have some internet disruption a second ago. Sorry about that. Thank you for bearing with me in the moment. are we at the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology?
Actually, I need to go back. I missed the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, Mr. England. Mr. England is not with us, so there will be no report there. Next, we have the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology, Mr. Burdell Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. The Eastern Center for Arts and Technology met on September 8th, 2021. Unfortunately, due to some emergency personal challenges, I wasn't unable to be present. However, the full detailed minutes from the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology's JOC meeting are available on Eastern's board docs under their meetings tab and there's a subsequent tab with attachments for the September 8th meeting. And that website for the community's knowledge is eastech.org, eastech.org. And that concludes the report that I actually don't have, but that's all I have for Eastern today.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams.
Sure.
Next, we have the superintendent's report, Dr. Hacker.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. I have 3 items on the consent agenda, and after the board votes, hopefully for the approval of those 3 items, I do have some additional announcements, so I would appreciate it if the board could go through the voting first, and then I'll continue with a few announcements. The first item is approval of the attached resolution regarding our COVID-19 vaccine testing program for all staff members.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Oh,
Second, Mr. Fishbein. Are there any comments? Now with this, because we're taking them separate, do I ask for comments and approve after each one? Or do I wait until the end? So after each one. So we'll take this by voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing an aye for me, seeing none, the motion carries for the recommendation of the resolution for the COVID-19 vaccine program.
And the second requested approval is for a flex scheduling memorandum of agreement that was entered into between the Cheltenham Education Association and the administration. And the flex scheduling MOA covers terms and conditions for the block schedule that is in place both at the middle school and the high school.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker. Motion to approve.
Move to approve, Julie Haywood.
Second, Chris Pender.
Thank you, Chris and Julie. Are there any board comments? Seeing none?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm just on both of these and the one to follow. I just want to commend the administration and the teachers for being flexible and for doing what is right so that we can have our programming safely. You know, we're hearing so much about how these simple kinds of items are being the subject of massive protests and problems in communities. And the fact that we are just doing this on a voice vote with no public comment is a real testament both to the leadership and to the community. And I wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Fishbein. Ms. Haywood, I see your hand raised.
Yes, and I want to echo Mr. Fishbein's comments. I won't restate those. I would also just add with respect to the flexible scheduling MOA, a memorandum of understanding or memorandum of agreement, is also I would like to thank both the CEA as well as the administration, in particular, Dr. Smith, who has been working on this flexible scheduling for quite some time with various meetings with leadership over the last year. And I'm glad that it's really coming to fruition and putting in place for this academic year for both Cedar Brook and the high school. So thank you, everyone involved.
Thank you, Julie. Seeing no other comments, we'll take a voice vote on number 2, the flex scheduling MOA. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Dr. Hacker?
Yes, I apologize. I'm sorry. And next on the agenda, as Mr. Fishbein referenced, is another memorandum of understanding. And this is between the district and the Montgomery County Office of Public Health. And this memorandum is the agreement which allows us to participating in the ACIT testing program, which will help us to ensure that we have testing in place twice weekly for all of our unvaccinated staff members, as well as students who will be participating in some of our major events over the course of the school year where there will be larger gatherings.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker. Any board comments on number 3? I'm sorry,
Need
wait a minute.
Motion.
First, before we go to comments, motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Fishbein, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Before we go to voice vote, any comments on the 3rd item from the board? Jenny, I see your hand raised.
Thanks. I just had a question about this. Will we be, who's doing the testing? Is it our staff or Montgomery County staff?
Currently, our school nurses are going to be doing the testing. If we need additional assistance, part of what is on the board agenda for this evening is a contract with an outside resource known as Aveana, who can provide additional nurses to assist us with the testing should we need it. As part of my additional announcements that I'll be making shortly, we are indeed very fortunate that at least so far, it appears that we have very low numbers at each school of staff who are not fully vaccinated yet. So we should be able to manage it all in-house.
Thank you.
Any other board comment?
Actually, that just reminds me, I'm sorry, Dr. Hacker, just so that we're clear for the public, that the testing of staff will be done of unvaccinated staff.
Correct.
Okay.
We don't need to test vaccinated staff.
Okay. Seeing that
I
there's no-
actually just point that out because School District of Philadelphia is testing all staff, vaccinated or not.
Okay, we are not doing that.
Okay.
Any other board comment? All right, so I'd like to go to a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Aye, me, for me, and the motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Hacker.
You're welcome. I do have a few additional announcements. First of all, with regard to the flex scheduling memorandum of agreement, as Ms. Haywood mentioned, a lot of significant groundwork was done over the course of the last school year in terms of numerous meetings that were held with Dr. Smith and Office of Education staff and members of our professional staff to really flesh out what the flexible schedule was going to look like, to also have discussions about professional learning communities and what was going to take place within those PLCs. Really, the flex scheduling memorandum of agreement more or less underscores what took place in those discussions. And I do just want to acknowledge Jack Kelly, the president of CEA, Ishvara Acosta, and John Manser, who worked with me on the memorandum of agreement over several weeks this summer. And it was really, I must say, an extraordinary pleasure working with all of them. And we were able to flesh this out quickly and amicably. So I just want to thank them for their work on that. As far as the staff testing goes, I just wanted to be able to provide an update. We still have some staff members who have not yet responded to our mandatory survey. We're hoping that they will respond to the survey by the end of the week, if not sooner. Our testing program will begin on October 4th in the schools, as we've mentioned. And we are indeed fortunate that so far, as I previously stated, the numbers do appear to be low at each of our schools in terms of the number of individuals who are not yet vaccinated. So we're extraordinarily grateful for that. And again, I want to commend both our support staff union as well as our professional staff union for their cooperation in terms of understanding the importance of vaccination for as many of our staff members as possible in order to take this additional measure to protect not only our students and their families, but themselves and their colleagues as well. And another really positive piece of information that I think it's very important to share is that we have extraordinarily low numbers of cases at this point in the school year. We're approaching the end of September, and so far we have only identified 7 students across the district who have tested positive. And we have had 6 teachers test positive so far this year. Those are extraordinarily low numbers. I believe they are among the lowest in the entire county. And of all of those individuals, not one is the result of in-school transmission. They are all the result of incidences that have happened outside of their attendance at school. So that's all very, very positive. Within Cheltenham Township itself, our incidence rate has decreased significantly. Exactly 1 month ago, we were at 129 out of 100,000 in terms of incidents. We're now down to less than half that, 51. Similarly, with our positivity rate, we were at 5.4% on August 19th. We're now down to 4.57%. So again, that's extraordinary good news within the township and the school district community. I urge everyone, don't let your guard down. Continue to be careful with your behaviors, because this is why our kids are able to come into school every day, and why I think our community and our families can feel greatly assured that the incidence or prospect of their children coming home sick is very, very low, at least at this point. Just a couple of other things to mention, and that is that we have posted the position of the business manager, the director of business services for our school district. The resignation of the previous individual who served in that position is on tonight's agenda under personnel. We also are finalizing the interviews this week, next week on Monday, for the director of facilities position as well. So we hope to have those 2 positions filled within the next several weeks. And finally, I just want to also give a shout out to 4 of our board members who gave up their time to attend yesterday afternoon's cadre on cultural proficiency with Dr. Barbara Moore-Williams. We ended close to 6 o'clock. So it was a long afternoon, especially after a full day of work for the teachers who attended, as well as for the 4 board members. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was Ms. Henry, Ms. Lohman, Mr. Schultz, and Mr. Cohen. Did I miss anyone? Thank you to the 4 of you for taking your time and for showing your interest in supporting our staff in this critical work that we're doing in Cheltenham on cultural proficiency and awareness. And that ends my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker. Next, we'll move on to the committee reports. Financial Affairs, Mr. Fishbein.
I'm sorry for the background noise if you hear it. My dog is barking. We did not have a Financial Affairs Committee meeting. The next one is scheduled to take place following the Facilities Committee meeting on October 5th, and that will be on Zoom. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Fishbein. All right, we heard him at the end, but it still sounds. Educational affairs, our we did not have a meeting last month. Our next meeting is next Tuesday, September 28th at 6:30. So we don't have a report out for that. Facilities, Mr. Burdell Williams.
Good evening. Thank you, Ms. Henry. Excuse me. I just want to be brief. Want to make sure I have my notes together. The Facilities Committee met on Tuesday, September 14th. We received our presentation, the community's presentation from Dr. Hacker, and she started by sharing an update regarding the recently vacated director and assistant director of facilities. I won't repeat anything that happened in that meeting because the information that she just shared with the public is more current than that. But that process continues, and as one board member, I'm excited for what we have ahead of us. We next heard about updates for each school. There was not anything prevalent happening at the elementary schools, but at the high school, there are 3 projects underway. One to replace the scoreboard. I think anyone who was at the game on Friday likely noticed that there was no scoreboard there. There was some preliminary timing of the arrival of the scoreboard that was interrupted by the recent hurricane. And so that work is still scheduled and should be happening in the upcoming weeks. One other project at the high school is currently ongoing, which is to remediate moisture intrusion and condensation issues due to poor piping installation in the new media center. And the third project was an update that was executed to the building's HVAC building controls. And my 10th grader did share with me that there seems to be a change in the conditions of the high school. So hopefully it's because of the resulting upgrade to the building controls. At Cedarbrook, there is work underway to address damages to the STEM and art sections of the building resulting from the heavy rain event from Hurricane Ida. The district has engaged with the legal team who was meeting with the architecture and civil engineering firms who were involved in the construction and design of the building to explore reasons behind the flooding, as this has been an ongoing issue. The community may have remembered in previous reports that we've had to go to lengths such as adding sandbags at the doors outside of at the end of that corridor to keep the water out, but there was just nothing that could be done in this particular instance. But I will share kudos to the district staff for cleaning and remediating any flood water and damage, and the work that they continue to do to try to get that area cleaned and remediated so we can get students back in there as soon as possible in one of the highlighted areas of the building. At Elkins Park, there are ongoing piping repairs to boilers that are expected to be completed before the weather turns cold. Again, I mentioned there were no other updates at the elementary schools. However, at the administration building, there's continuing work on window unit air conditioning replacement. The weather of the last few days has been almost perfect, so I'm not sure we've needed to use them, but I'm excited that work is happening to help our admin staff. Across the district, there are also HVAC filters that are being replaced on their normal preventative maintenance cycle, which is 4 times a year. And the additional HEPA filters that are installed at EP and CHS, which the community will likely remember, we went out and installed in order to address, in order to ensure we had increased airflow in our rooms, are expected to be changed out during winter break. Additionally, across the district, painting inside of the high school and EP continues, as well as work to continue to clean up and touch up the painting of all of the lines in our parking lot. One update that I did want to share also was regarding the water bottle fillers. I know we've been talking about that for a while. There was some shipment delays last year, but we do have that equipment on hand, and installation has already commenced, and As of the time of the report out at our meeting last week, Cedarbrook was the only school that still required installation of water bottle fillers. So to this point, the other schools have at least one, and in certain cases more than that, to be able to assist our students with being able to use their own water bottles as opposed to utilizing the water fountain. Preventative maintenance work continued across the district as usual. No updates specifically around grounds. One thing that Dr. Hacker did share that I think is of importance, because I think this is something that many industries and many communities are grappling with from multiple perspectives, which is that the district is continuing to have challenges finding substitute staff when there are call outs or when someone can't make it into work. They're trying their very best, but in certain cases, like very many other industries, there are not a huge amount of individuals out there essentially waiting in the wings. So again, I commend the patience of administration and their persistence in ensuring that we have folks in these substitute roles, and also hoping that the work environment will improve so we have a larger group of individuals to pull from in the future. Update on some capital work at the high school. The lintel replacement on the front side of the auditorium was completed 2 weeks ago. I think we're still waiting for the contractor who put the fence up to come down and remove that. I'm not sure if there's any additional inspection or anything that's required, but the work has been completed. In addition, another long-standing project or capital project that we've discussed was the leaking glycol pipe underneath the concrete and partially underneath the building at Wyncote Elementary. That work is scheduled to start in October, and the administration is waiting for supplies to arrive. And another long-standing capital project that we have been discussing was the work to repair a section of the gym floor in Cedarbrook. That work has commenced and the floor has been pulled up. That work should be completed by now, but has been commenced, and if not completed now, is expected to be completed soon. Lastly, a very awesome update for the community. I think everyone will be happy to hear that external bookings are open to the public. Any information in relation to classifications or fee schedules can be found on the district website under facilities and maintenance. In addition to that, any policy related questions that the community may have also can be referenced at using board docs and looking at specific policies around facilities use. Right, and that concludes my report. I should have a date for the next facilities meeting. The next facilities meeting is going to be on October 5th, 2021, being held virtually via Zoom. And that concludes all of the report that I have from the Facilities Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. Next, we have Liaison Group. Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. The Liaison Group met yesterday, and the Liaison Group is a meeting of the school district and township leaders. The first item discussed was school bus safety, about buses in the township. That was followed by a brief discussion about the idea of sharing expenses on school traffic signals between the township and also the school district, and also a concept of sharing expenses for a fuel dispensing system that's owned by the township, with the school district possibly sharing in those costs as well. But those will be explored later on. There was a discussion about the Ramadan East Cheltenham Library. By way of brief background for people that don't know, or as a reminder, both those libraries are planned to be shut down next month due to issues with the heating system and related building issues. And there have been other meetings, including township meetings and the library board meeting last night, I believe it was, to discuss these issues as well. But there was discussion about the potential of the school district playing a role in alleviating some of the burden by having those libraries being closed for the wintertime. And just to be clear, it's those two libraries, and The plan right now is just to close them for the winter time because of, again, of issues with the heating system as the primary factor. And the plan right now is to reopen them sometime next spring. There was any discussion about the stormwater management fee. By way of brief background, the township is exploring a stormwater management fee that would be imposed on all properties in the township except for township-owned properties. Right now, the concept is to also have those fees be assessed to school district properties as well. The commissioners are actually meeting about this tomorrow night via Zoom, and they plan on having this be adopted sometime to go into effect, excuse me, for next calendar year. There was discussions about the burden on the school district and the fact that we would have to pass those costs on to the taxpayers, being that same taxpayers that the township has, and also other associated burdens. So the townships and school district are still hopefully exploring the viability and the benefit of having the school district pay those fees as well. There was a brief discussion about land development updates. There was then a brief discussion about the tax office attorney, which falls under the township. They're looking for an attorney to try to collect some back taxes. Under new business, there was a brief discussion on the Holy Sepulchre Cemetery and real estate tax appeal matter. And Commissioner Rappaport noted that the Wall House is having reopening on this weekend on the 26th. And information about that reopening at Wall Park is on the township's website. Dr. Hacker provided an update on COVID-19, addressing many of the points that she addressed tonight. There was also a brief discussion about a bus driver shortage, which is a nationwide issue that the school district is also facing as well. And also, I was reminded after the meeting that the township has an active survey available at their website at cheltenhamtownship.org for community survey related to the comprehensive planning process. So it's to get input into the township, the future direction of the township in terms of what people want to see as a focus for improvements and what they want to see changes for the township. I'm a member of the committee working on that for the comprehensive plan process. So I encourage people in the next few weeks to go to the township's website. It's on their homepage, a link, and fill out that survey if they have any interest. The next meeting of the liaison group has not been scheduled, and that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Next up is Policy Committee, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you. The Policy Committee met on August 25th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. Following roll call and approval of minutes, the Policy Committee discussed old business first. Policy 351, 451, and 551, drug and substance abuse, are being consolidated into a single policy, Policy 351, or that is the proposal for this evening. And Policy 802, electronic signatures / records, is being presented this evening as well for final approval. That is a new policy that will allow electronic signatures in certain circumstances. The Policy Committee also continued to discuss policy in AR 218, student discipline. The policy is being presented this evening for first read, though further updates to its associated administrative regulation are still being worked on. So the rest of the agenda were first read policies, policy 826, social media, and 921, public relations. And the next Policy Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 29th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. So I have the action item, which is submitting policy 451 and 551 for repeal, policy 351 and 802 for approval. And I would need a motion.
So moved.
Julie Haywood.
Second, Jennifer Lohman.
And then I think board comment. Mr. Diazio, I never am sure when a committee report is occurring and there's an action item, who leads that portion. Should I be calling on Ms. Haywood or is Ms. Henry?
Either way, it's a local preference, but
okay. Well, for now, I'll at least say, Ms. Haywood, I see your hand.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. I just wanted to comment that as it relates to the first read policy, although we're not voting this evening for adopting the changes that were made to policy 218, student discipline, there was a very robust discussion among the board members about the student discipline policy. And primarily it was really in the context of making sure that we have a restorative justice approach to student discipline. And so looking at alternative measures other than, well, more strict discipline measures and having those commensurate with the infractions. And so we really took a close look at the AR that had the discipline chart in terms of consequences. So I just wanted to share that with the public, that we were continuing to have those discussions. The student discipline policy, based on those discussions by the policy committee, has already been modified significantly. And again, we'll be having future meetings, and that will be again on the policy committee's meeting for the next meeting for further review and discussion. Invite students if you're available, and anyone in the community who's available to participate in the next upcoming meeting next Wednesday at 8 o'clock via Zoom. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haywood. Any other board comment? Seeing none, I would call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. And that does conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Next up is Communications Committee, Mr. Fishbein.
The Communications Committee did not meet prior to this meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for September 23rd by Zoom.
Thank you, Mr. Fishbein. Ms. Haywood, the legislative update.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. The Montgomery County District Legislative Committee expects to meet in October via Zoom. We have not yet scheduled that meeting for October. And this evening, I'll just provide a brief update on legislation impacting public education at both the federal and the state levels. So at the federal level, a few weeks ago, the House Education and Labor Committee approved its share of the Build Back Better program. This bill is important because it would invest about $761 million in childcare, child nutrition programs, universal pre-K, and fund 2 years of tuition-free community college, and increase the amount of Pell Grants, among other related initiatives. The proposed bill will have to go through the reconciliation process, which unfortunately at this point is not anticipated to be successful. So we'll probably do another revision before coming through the House and Senate for a vote. On September 13th, President Biden announced the creation of the National Hispanic Serving Institutions Week to advance educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Hispanic students. This initiative was led by Education Secretary Miguel Cardona, who recognizes that Latino students have been disproportionately impacted during the COVID-19 pandemic, among so many other students in the country. And on September 15th, representatives from the National Center on After School and Summer Enrichment, the Office of Child Care, and the U.S. Department of Education met with the After School Alliance to discuss how the American Relief Plan funds could be used to support school-age children and low-income families access after school and summer learning opportunities. The purposes of these funds is to enhance access to childcare and to provide support to address economic, social, emotional, and academic loss due to COVID-19. And this money also provides an opportunity to school districts to really partner with neighborhood and community organizations that offer childcare and after-school programming. As was mentioned earlier this evening, as many are aware, nationally, school leaders, including school board directors, have been kind of targets of a lot of not just threatening remarks, but actually bodily harm, unfortunately, for anyone who's disagreeing with school guidelines as it relates to COVID best practices as conveyed by the national government through CDC, as well as locally through Governor Wolf at the state level with respect to masking and social distancing. So as it relates to that at the federal level, on September 16th, the National Association of Secondary School Principals called for federal officials to provide support to school leaders. The Principals Association is asking for the U.S. Department of Education to issue guidance to school leaders on the ability to remove or ban hostile individuals from school property or individuals that may threaten them. Again, as Mr. Fishbein earlier noted, we are incredibly fortunate in Cheltenham that we have not had those exchanges occur, but in neighboring school districts, they have, where school board members have been threatened, school administrators have been threatened. So again, unfortunately, we've had at the federal level legislation to try to protect school leaders from those kinds of activities. At the state level, the General Assembly returned to Harrisburg today, and primarily they are really tackling redistricting and voter suppression initiatives. But as it relates to school and education, I'm pleased to announce that Governor Wolf recently proposed regulations to hold charter school applicants accountable for academic performance and fiscal administrative standards. As we know, and we've discussed before, charter school accountability has been a long-standing concern of many school districts, including Cheltenham. And these proposed regulations from Governor Wolf would also address how charter schools are paid when students leave brick and mortar traditional public schools like Cheltenham to attend online cyber charter schools. As you recall, as part of Governor Wolf's budget address earlier in the year in February, he was calling on a $9,600 per pupil reimbursement for cyber charter programming because they don't incur any building expenditures. Stay tuned. Again, this is an ongoing discussion, ongoing initiative. And as it relates to kind of advocacy in general around charter school reform and other issues that affect public education, on October 14th, Mr. England, Mr. Schultz, and myself will participate in the Psba Advocacy Day. Again, it'll be a virtual presentation again this year, and we'll be joining some school board colleagues from Jenkintown and Abington, and we'll meet with State Senator Haywood and his staff to discuss the end and the need for charter school reform, mandate waiver program legislation that's currently been proposed at both the House and the Senate level under House Bill 1473 and Senate Bill 73, and sharing the successes and the challenges we faced in Cheltenham when we face school opening again this year. I'll be very glad to report our opening was very smooth. And so, we continue to have our challenges with some of the building issues, but I think overall it's been a very good start to the school year. As it relates to the Psba Advocacy Day on October 14th, this is not exclusively for school board members or school administrators, so we invite you to really join us in that conversation. If you are interested in joining us in that Zoom meeting, please send an email to myself at jhaywood@cheltenham.org if you would like to participate in the Psba Advocacy Day on October 14th. Would love to have you join us. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Mhm.
Next, we have personnel with Ms. Tolbert Jackson.
Thank you. I'm submitting the following action items for consent agenda. 1, appointment of professional employee. 2, appointment of temporary professional employees, A through J. 3, appointment of long-term substitute teacher. 4, approval of changes in assignment A through F. 5, appointment of support staff A through F. 6, termination of classified employee. 7, salary adjustment. 8, approval of service agreements A and B. 9, stipend position.
I move to approve. the
Sorry, I
consent agenda.
couldn't get myself off of mute. My mouse wouldn't move. I was trying. I'm like, well, I'm coming. Sorry about that. Motion to approve.
I
Julie
move to approve
did.
that. Julie Haywood.
I'll second that. Joel
Uh,
Fishbein.
Thank you, Joel and Ms. Hayward. Do we have any board comment? Seeing none, we'll take this by voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. You're next.
I'll continue with the informational items. 1, retirements, A and B. 2, resignations, A through H. 3, non-discretionary leave of absence. It's just A. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Educational Affairs, Dr. Smith.
Good evening. I'm presenting the following as a consent agenda. 1, approval of conferences, A through F. 2, approval of educational service agreements. 3, approval for agreement for an approved private school placement. And 4, approval of volunteer.
Motion to approve.
So move,
moved.
Charles Riddell Williams.
Charles first. Who's second?
Joel Fishbein. Second.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the board? Seeing none, let's all in favor say aye. Voice vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Financial Affairs, Mr. Linderman is not present. And so I will take this one. We have an approval of payments of A, the administration recommends the approval of bills for payment for the period of August 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2021. And the fund, and the amounts listed below, and those are listed there on our agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move, Mr. Cohen.
Second, Jennifer Lohman.
Any board comment? Seeing none, we'll move to voice vote. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Next, we'll have public comments on non-agenda items. As in before, if you wish to make a public comment, you can raise your hand. Please change your Zoom name to reflect where you reside in the community. Or you can email us at csdboardmeeting.comments@cheltenham.org. And we'll wait, give a few minutes for those to come in. And Ed, do you see anything coming in from email? I don't see any hands raised.
No hands raised, nothing from email yet. If you wanted to hold the comment period open and do the response to prior public questions, and then if there's no further input by the time that's concluded, you could then move on.
We can do that. That's a great idea. Thank you, Ed. Dr. Hacker, response to public comments or questions?
Yes, thank you. We did have 2 emails, each of which contained a large number of questions pertaining to our protocols and procedures prior to the opening of school. As with many of our family members, we heard from a number of individuals prior to the start of school as to what procedures were going to be put into place in order to keep students safe, whether it was regarding social distancing in the cafeteria or classrooms or other spaces. Were special teachers going to be moving? how will seating be arranged in the cafeteria, and so forth. So there were numerous questions that came in both of these emails, and all the questions were addressed via the frequently asked questions that each principal was able to post on the FAQs or through their newsletters that went out to their individual families or letters to their individual families.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker. Ed, I do see that there was an email question that came through and from Lisa Hesbacher. And Lisa, I do see that you listed, it's in the email, Jenny.
Yes, she's indicated that she's from Wincode, PA,
Yeah.
and the comment says, can you please provide an update with regard to the superintendent search?
And so we will, how do we handle that response?
So this is an opportunity for public comment. It's not necessarily a question and answer, but if there's anything general to share, you certainly can.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get clarification on that. So Ms. Hesbacher, I will say that we are still in the midst of that search and will be communicating information to the public. And I don't see any other questions.
And nothing else has come in through email
Okay,
as of yet.
all right. So last but not least, our future meetings are listed. I do want to make one caveat that the board retreat that is listed for Saturday, September 25th will be an in-person meeting. And so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Joel Fishbein. Is there a second?
That was the slowest second. You all want to hang around for another hour?
I was definitely waiting for 8 o'clock, but
So 3 more minutes. You should have seen the look on your face, Joel. Listen, thank you all. The meeting is adjourned.